Okay, we're going to get started here. Thank you for all coming out here, online and in person. My name is Joey Martin. I'm the vegetable gardener here at Renota Gardens. This talk was supposed to happen last fall, but my wife and me welcomed the birth of our adopted daughter, and so I was on parental leave while that happened. If you have any complaints, her name is Sylvie James. But I feel like this time is a better time to talk about peppers rather than in October. Um, Let me get, as John would say, let's get out some house cleaning, some announcements. Um, Upcoming Tuesday Garden series. So next Tuesday, we have the Waterways of Renota. That's in partnership with Forsyth Creek Week. Uh, we'll have someone talking about the Lake Catherine and the Turtle Pond and everything that kind of goes through it. And it's really, really interesting to see the dynamics of how water moves on this property. April 1st, the week after, Plants That Pop, and the conservatory manager from Longwood Gardens is going to be there to talk about that. April 8th, container workshop that will be held either in or around our new beautiful conservatory. Michelle Hawks will be leading that. So bring your pot and container, whatever, we'll supply the plants. And it's always a really fun time with Michelle. April 15th is the spring plant sale preview talk. That's the big one. John will show off all the great stuff we'll have for sale for the spring plant sale. Members get to purchase, pre-order the plants before they run out because spring plant sale, it's usually the busy one. Stuff runs out before the actual public gets to it on that Saturday. And that Saturday, April 26th, is the spring plant sale. So that is that. Okay, hot today, chilly tomorrow. By the title, you can hopefully guess what you're getting into today. We're going to be super sweet. We're going to get some spiciness here and there. We're going to go to the far ends of both dynamics. So it's just have fun, nothing serious. It's just peppers. Uh, Before we dive into the wonderful world of peppers, I've just got one question to ask you all. Hold on. Why couldn't the pepper practice archery? It's very important if you wanna grow peppers. Because he didn't have an arrow. So yeah. But why peppers? Why am I talking about peppers? I didn't grow up growing plants in a garden. That came later in life. But peppers have always been a part of my life. As you can tell by the very AI generated image, growing up, to get attention at pizza parties, I would, throw down some red pepper flakes, some hot sauce. I would be the guy to be like, oh yeah, I can chug this, I can do that for some tokens or whatever. And that got me really like, I was all into the hot stuff. I was all into peppers, stuff like that. And then, getting older, finding my way into this kind of career. I just love the way peppers, they look, the sizes, the shapes, the taste that they have. So as you can see here is a wide array of different types of peppers that, for me looking at it right now, it's my favorite plant to grow in the vegetable garden. Uh, So let's start off basics. Let's pepper in some facts. So peppers are from the genus Capsicum, which are the members of the nightshade family, Solanaceae. So, tomatoes, eggplant, all that stuff, they're all in that same family. Peppers, botanically, not a vegetable, but a fruit, uh, more specifically a berry. Culin Culinarily, they are a vegetable. I will, through this presentation, I will interchangeably use it. So, but no big deal. But one of the oldest cultivated crops in the world. So they were growing out wild, and then 6,000 years ago, uh, all the people in Mexico, Central America, South America, very southern North America, they started to domesticate uh, those peppers. Uh, and capsaicin, that is the active component of the chili peppers that gives the fruit its pungency, and pungency in this meaning is the spicy heat. So, um, yeah. Uh, so common myth. Usually when I'm like looking at a pepper recipe and I have to scroll down through a whole story of their blog and everything before I get to the actual meat of the recipe, they'll say, the seeds are the source of the heat for the pepper. That's not necessarily true. It's actually this white pith area right there. And just because the seeds are so close up against it, it rubs up, it gets those oils. So there is some heat on the seeds. It's just the residual from the pith. If you really want to knock out the heat of your peppers, take out the seeds, but really take out that white pith area. And black pepper, we're not talking about it today. This is the only time I will bring it up. They're just the dried up berry from a flowery vining peppercorn plant. Its spice doesn't even come from capsaicin, it's piperin. So we can just get that out of the way. History. So again, native to Central America, South America, and Southern North America. If you're wondering, oh, what about the peppers I find in my Kung Pao chicken? We'll get to that. But all your, especially uh, capsicum peppers, they are only native and came from those areas. So at the very beginning, wild peppers, when they're in their tiny little berry form, they're very small, lots of seeds, a lot of heat, not much flesh around it. Birds would spread them around, and they were able to do this because they are not affected by the capsaicin. So that's how, before they are domesticated, that's how they spread around all throughout that region. Um, So wild peppers started consumed 8,000 years ago in those areas, and then the natives 6,000 years ago bred them so they would be more edible to humans, just like most like bananas, apples. There was a time where they were mostly seed, not a lot of flavor, until we came in and we started breeding them for our pleasure. So there's this guy, Christopher Columbus. Um, During his travels, he would have taken some chili peppers, did his thing, gone back over to Spain, and from Spain, that's where the first instance of peppers made its appearance in Spain and throughout Europe. Uh, Several years later, Portuguese came by, and they were the ones that got chili peppers to India, Asia, and Africa, and all those locations. And from there, each region, they began experimenting, breeding to what they prefer. So, Asian, African locations, they liked it a little bit hotter, so they bred it. So the peppers were a little bit hotter. You go into Europe a little bit, didn't like the spice so much, so they bred it so there wasn't as much capsaicin in it. And that's where we kind of get into our varieties of sweet bell peppers and stuff like that. Peppers that do not have any heat, any pungency, or capsaicin in them. Um, Me personally, uh, my great grandparents came over from Hungary. And if you know anything about Hungarian food, paprika is huge in their culinary arts. So paprika is just dried up peppers, uh, and then it's powdered into the paprika. Started off spicy, They're like, maybe we don't like it as spicy. Maybe there's some people that want it sweeter. So they're the ones that kind of bred peppers to become a little bit more sweeter so they could make that paprika into a sweet paprika. And that's why there's kind of both right there in Hungary, and it's a huge thing. Um, I know Germany, they bred a lot of sweet peppers because in their dishes they did not like the spice. So once all these wild peppers got domesticated all over, they were put into 5 domesticated pepper species. Um, a lot of these, there's some crossovers, there's some hybrids, and there's some like subspecies, but you know, it's just a general kind of way to kind of categorize some peppers based on some of their characteristics. So the most popular one, the most cultivated is a capsicum anum, uh, most cultivated throughout the world. Uh, all sweet peppers, so your bell peppers, your snacking peppers, they are going to fit into this category. And you can see your jalapenos, bell peppers, serranos, all that stuff, bananas, they're in this group. Capsicum chinense, these are your hot peppers. This is practically your top hot peppers from the world. They're habanero style. They're not actually originated from China. A Dutch botanist got some of these peppers from China. He thought they were from there, and he labeled them that. It's not, but it's stuck, and it is what it is. We'll deal with it, and that happens for plants all the time. But yeah, so they have very unique flavors. A lot of times they're fruity, they're kind of chocolatey. But again, they are some of the hottest peppers in the world. So um, you kind of take and give with that. Capsicum, bakatam, these are very flavorful, but again, spicy, not as pungent as the last ones. These have really cool sizes and shapes. This is a bishop's crown right here, that red one right over there. There's some that look like UFOs. And this is the kind of area where the shapes are get kind of crazy, stuff like that. Um, they can get really large, get over 10 feet tall, and again, you get kind of um, very descriptive on it. You can tell by the large flowers with the yellow or green spots on it. Um, and again, as we go down there, the peppers, the types of peppers list gets smaller, and then they kind of blend in with other peppers. But yeah, capsaicin, frutescens. These are ornamental. Um, and you can tell by the way the peppers are growing upwards. They're very colorful. Um, they are edible most of the time, but it's generally a lot of heat and no flavor, a lot of seeds, not a lot of flesh on it. Again, that's why they're ornamental. You put them up there for their looks, not necessarily for their taste. Um, exception being is Tabasco sauce. The Tabasco pepper is in this species. And they've got their own hot sauce. This year am growing some Tabasco peppers out in the garden. First time I'm growing them. I'm excited to see how they do. And capsicum pubescens. Pubescens is Latin for hairy. They have hairy leaves, black seeds. They can tolerate colder weather. And the manzano pepper is in this group. That's probably the most popular one that I've looked. You've seen them jarred and pickled um, in the grocery store. The Scoville scale. Now you've got a pepper. You want to make sure that you are ready for its heat. And with that, you use the Scoville scale. And that is the measurement of its pungency of the chili peppers and how much capsaicin is in it. And it's recorded in Scoville heat units. and it was named after its creator, Wilbur Scoville. And he used this 1912 method. It's called the Scoville organoleptic test. And I don't know, I love it. Let me explain it to you. So this is what he did. So let's say you have 5 participants. You take you dry your pepper, you ground it up, you have 1 gram of that pepper. And then you dilute it with this sugary water mix by 10 times the amount. So 10 times the amount of the pepper that you're using. They all take a drink. They're all like, yeah, this is spicy. So you dilute it more by 10 times the amount. They're like, still taste it, still taste the pungency. Dilute it again. One's like, oh, I don't taste it anymore. They get knocked out. Dilute it again. Another person cannot taste the pungency. They get knocked out until you get to where 50% of the people have been knocked out, that they cannot taste that pungency anymore. So in this example, they've gone through 4 dilutions, and you get to the 2 people who still can taste the pungency. 3 people have been kicked out, and you just do, so the first one is the 10, that's the dilution amount time, so 10 times 10 times 10, because each time is 10 times the amount of dilution, and you end up with 10,000. So that pepper would be 10,000 Scoville heat units, which is, you can see on this scale, is a little bit hotter than a jalapeno, which isn't too bad. Now we take something like the second hottest pepper in the world, the Carolina Reaper. You take 1 gram of it dried. You'll have to throw it into a vat of 484 gallons before you cannot taste the pungency of that pepper. And again, you look up here, it's 2.2 million Scoville heat units. And still, if you can also see, that is not the hottest. Also going back, and that reminded me, there's a pepper in Africa, or no, I believe it's in the Caribbean, called the 7-pot pepper, and it's a variety of peppers where, 1 pepper can flavor, spice up 7 pots. And I just think it's really cool they named it after that. But yeah. What is the most annoying trait of a pepper? They always try to get all up in your business. Again, this is the world of peppers. You just go with the flow. Growing guide. So you've got your seeds, you got your germination, soil mix and tray, you got your water. Heat mat, very, very important. Sometimes I think people forget about that. But in terms of growing peppers, heat mat, I feel like is a necessity. Plant labels, humidity dome if you want to go that direction, lights, gloves if you're dealing with hotter peppers. So you have all this stuff. When is the best time to grow your peppers? Well, the best time would be 6 weeks ago. That would be the best time. But the next best time would be 5 weeks ago. No, but today would be perfect time, or as soon as you can. So the earliest you can start is in mid-February, and the latest is mid-March, and that's to get a plant transplanted in the garden as soon as our last frost hits. We started mid-February, maybe a little earlier, because we sell plants at the plant sale, and we have a hoop house, and we have all that stuff, and we have to get it out by April 26th. But again, now is probably the best time to go ahead and get started. If you want to get that full season of pepper growth, get it out there as soon as you can and get the full season, because they do take some time to grow. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So you got your soil, you got water. I find it easy. In a bucket, put your soil in and just pre-saturate that soil with water before putting it in your cells or whatever you're going to sow those seeds in. It just helps. If you put it in dry soil and you go to water it, seeds might go down further, they might wash out. Um, Having that soil pre-soaked is just one less thing that kind of disrupts the seed. And so pepper seeds, not that big, make a 1/4 inch hole in the cell and then cover it. They need darkness to germinate. Um, so make sure they're completely covered. And again, if the soil is already saturated, no need to go back and try to water it in again because that soil should be good for a couple days of being moist. Label your plant. Um, Man, my first year here, um, I thought I had things down pat in my labeling system and learning that. Uh, and in the cells and the trays, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll remember where this one starts and this one ends. And no, make sure you label your plant because a banana pepper, there's a sweet and a hot variety, and they look exactly the same, and you're going to regret it. Uh, so definitely like pepper plants, I'd say over label if you're doing multiple varieties, especially if some are sweet and some are hot. Let's see. Okay, again, put on a heat mat. Very, very important. You want the soil and the air around it to be 75 to 80 degrees, and you'll find out why. Um, that is important for that temperature, not just because it helps with germinate, but it also helps prevent diseases and stuff. Um, Keep the soil moist but not soaked. You don't want the the seeds to be in. If you soak it, the seeds could rot. It will create an atmosphere for bacteria and fungus and stuff like that. You kind of just want to avoid that. And what I do is when that first initial saturated soil has kind of started to dry out, I'll use a mister. If I use anything heavier, again, it could push the seed down, move it, flood it out, something like that. So I use a mister to just do a good misting on top because you do want to keep it moist, but you just do not want to soak it. Um, Going back to the times, the more pungent the pepper, the longer it takes to germinate. So, you get your average sweet bell pepper. You put it in there 7 to 10 days later, you'll see a little seedling pop out. You get your Carolina Reaper, might take 4 to 6 weeks to see a seedling. And again, and I'll even say first 2 years here. We would start our tomatoes, eggplants, all our summer stuff together, peppers, everything else is coming up, and the peppers aren't coming out. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, we're selling these at the plant sale, and I want to put them in the garden, and they're not coming out. But patience, you got to have patience. I do not have patience. I have to tell myself they're hotter peppers. Just wait, they will come up, and they do. So just have some patience and give them some space and some time. All right, so after that time period, you see your little seedlings coming up. After you see 50% or more, that's when you can add grow lights to it, and you want to prevent legginess. Um, uh, You can also, we have in our hoop house, we have a fan that's blowing on it. So that fan helps with resistance and kind of strengthens its stem. So if it does get a little bit leggy, it's still strong enough to support the plant and support its growth and stuff like that. Again, this is a very kind of delicate stage as well when you have these seedlings. Um, So dampening off disease, we'll talk about that later. That's where you're watering it too much. There's too much moisture, and the temperature drops to around 65 degrees. Um, and it starts to basically get this bacterial fungal on it, and it kills it off. And yellow leaves, if you start seeing yellow leaves, add a little bit of fertilizer, just some nitrogen, uh, nothing too high, just something low. I'd use emulsion for that. It's low on everything and it helps it a bit. And once you have your six, so the when you have your six or more true leaves, these are the leaves after that first little seedling, the cotyledon leaves come up. After those, your next six leaves are your true leaves. They're ready to go outside to harden off. And the reason you want to do this is if you've been growing them inside, they've been all um, they've been just like nestled and cozied and all that stuff. And so they got to go out in the real world. They got to see real sun. They got to feel the wind. They got to feel the temperature drops. So the for we do it 1 week. Sometimes you can do 2 weeks. Take it outside for maybe an hour. Bring it back in next day. Couple hours until you just do that throughout the week until it's kind of gets used to being outdoors. And then after that, they're ready to be transplanted into the garden. This is what I do. Some people don't do it, but I am a big fan. And I guess you could call it controversial. I don't know. But I really, and I call this the Charlie Brown pepper plant because it's kind of like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree that I want to avoid. I want to avoid a small pepper plant growing one big pepper and putting all of its energy into one pepper, and then it bends over, and then you got to risk it breaking and stuff like that. So what I do, I know it's exciting to see those first couple flowers, especially if you see a little pepper growing from the flowers, but I just pick them off because what ideally I want the pepper put all its energy into getting bigger. So it will have the energy to produce more flowers, which means more peppers instead of putting its energy into one or two peppers. And then that's kind of what you got through the season. So I'm a big fan of taking off those first little flowers, waiting again, trying to use my patience and waiting, and it really pays off in the end. So transplanting out into the garden, well draining soil, put it in a place that needs 8 to 10 hours of sunlight. So when I dig a little hole, I'll put in some of our compost. You can put in some manure. It's a decent feeder, so it will really enjoy that. So when you've got your transplant, you've got where the soil comes up, you got where the stem comes up. You want to bury it an inch down because um, that inch down of the stem that you bury, it will send out anchor roots, and that will help stabilize it because a lot of these pepper plants can get top heavy real easy. So I always suggest staking them, but doing that helps as well. Um, it's just they can easily break, and it can be because of the weather, it can be because of the fruits on them. Fertilize every week. What I do is when I first plant it, Plantone. I love this because you can't burn your plant with it. You just sprinkle it around the base of the roots. Um, and the only thing, if you use too much, you're just wasting product, but you can't burn the plant. I do that until I start seeing a lot of flowers and flowers turning into peppers. And then I switch that over to the fish emulsion, and that helps with fruit production. So that's kind of a two-step fertilizer thing. And again, peppers, let the soil dry out completely before watering, and we'll get through some of the diseases and stuff, but it's really important to not let it be too overwatered or get it to where there's water easily gets on the leaves, stuff like that. Again, stake your pepper plants. A lot of them get top heavy. You just don't want it to break halfway through the summer and then that's it. Pepper ripening. Again, peppers are all about patience, I'm finding out. You can definitely, your green peppers you see everywhere. These are your bell peppers, standard bell peppers. You can keep them on longer. You notice anywhere you buy your produce, the ones, the yellow, orange, red, are way more expensive than the green ones. That's because it takes more time for them to ripen, and they are sweeter. Same for any of the hotter peppers. The longer they stay on there, and generally they turn green to red, they'll get more pungent depending on the variety. So this is the dampening off disease I was talking about earlier. That's what it looks like. Um, that's when it gets too watery and the temperatures get down, uh, and fungus and molds get in there and they just destroy it. Um, so they'll take down the seedlings, they'll get it to where the seeds don't even germinate. Um, and I think, again, first year, I think I had some dampening off disease, and I thought, who came, like, what insect came in here and, chomped everything down, but it wasn't that. It was dampening off disease. Again, don't overwater, keep it on a heat mat, keep it around that 75 to 80 degrees. And again, if you see it in one, there's a good chance it's going to spread to your other cells and affect your other plants. Blight, I don't see it much around here, but I have in the past. This is where it's a soil-borne pathogen. It's in the soil, so you do not want any of that in your soil to get up into the leaves, up into the fruit, and affect that. That's kind of what you'll see, the wilting, the root rot. There will be rot on the fruit. Um, Again, improve the drainage. You can put them in your peppers in raised beds or pots to help with that. If you plant it in the ground, I mean, if you look out there, I usually do rows that are hilled up, or I'll put it on a mound. That's so the water can kind of rush down and not stand around the peppers, stuff like that. And mulch, putting mulch around it helps with splatter. So whatever in that soil doesn't pop back up and get into the plant. This gets around a lot here, the bacterial leaf spot. Um, Again, we have rainy, humid climates around here, so it gets affected a lot. Seen this, the yellow and green spots on leaves, brown spots on later stages, the corky spots on the peppers. I've seen all that. Leaf drop, not fun. Um, so we want to remove the affected parts. Sometimes if a plant is not getting enough fertilizer, not enough nutrients, it stresses out. And when a plant stresses out, it's more susceptible to these diseases. So, make sure you're regularly feeding it, keeping it healthy. You can spray it with a natural fungicide. And again, try to avoid getting the leaves wet. It harbors a better percentage of getting those diseases. Aphids are a problem around here. I have to deal with that constantly. Again, I'm not going out there with any harsh chemicals. Um, uh, Usually you can see these on the bottom of leaves, on the stems, if you start seeing holes in your leaves. If you see ants, ants are a big kind of sign that you have aphids. So what aphids do, they're all on your leaf and they're using their little suckers. They're getting the sugars, is what's called honeydew or whatever. And the ants kind of usually like vulture them and they steal the honeydew. So they let the aphids do all the work and the ants come up right behind them and they steal all that honeydew. So if you see a lot of ants on your plant, that usually means there's aphids somewhere and they're kind of reaping the rewards of the aphids. What I do is I physically remove them. I get soap and I water and I get in there and I just kind of squish them, get them all out, rinse it in that soapy water. You can hose it down. I wouldn't do that. Um, or you can apply neem oil. But I usually just do the physical thing that seems to help the best with that. So a couple years ago, there was this thing called Peppergate. Um, it was when it was major seed distributors mistakenly sent their mislabeled seeds across the country. So people who were buying, say, a jalapeno plant, they get their seeds, they put all their time into growing it, and once they saw the peppers grow, it would be a bell pepper, or people would get these expensive peppers and again put the time and energy to it, and it would just be a banana pepper. Um, there are still pockets of that happening. Uh, I, especially last year, there's pockets of that um, coming up, but I just be cautious. It's out there. It's still circulating. It's still a thing. It's just not as prevalent as 2023. So if you're kind of a little wary about that and you have your own peppers and you want to save your seeds, you you can. Um, so you want to wait till your pepper is fully ripened. If you get it when it's still immature, um, the seeds aren't ready to germinate. They're not fully ready to germinate. So you have a higher chance of those seeds to germinate if you wait till the pepper is fully ripened. So get the pepper, get the seeds, dry them out, put them in a container, sealed bag, whatever you prefer, put them in the refrigerator. They will be good for you till the next season. Peppers do cross-pollinate. So if you have a bell pepper right here, you plant it right next to a jalapeno pepper, they cross-pollinate. They will not affect the fruit that year, but if you save seeds from one of them, you could get a bell pepper with some spice to it, or you could get a jalapeno pepper that looks like a bell pepper. So they do cross-pollinate, and they can tend to trade characteristics. Uh, Favorite part. So this is the first annual Renota Vegetable Gardener Joey Martin's official top 10 most successful / awesome peppers grown in the Renota Gardens vegetable garden over the past 3.5 years in no particular order list. So these are ones that every year I try to grow, and I just have so much fun growing them. Here we go. First one. This is the most popular through everybody in the staff and through our plant sales. It's the orange lunchbox peppers. These are mini snacking peppers. Um, uh, they're sweet. There's no heat to them. They're great for containers. Uh, Pick them right off the plant. You can eat them like that, or chop them up, put them in salads, stir fries, or just a snack. Um, they're pretty sweet, and they're just really, really good. And they're very popular. We close to sell out every year of these. And these will be in the plant sale this year again. And there's some that we grew this year in my hand. And they're just beautiful looking. I love that shade of orange. Lipstick peppers. Um, they were Michelle Hawk's. She grew these in the past. I kind of grew, and they haven't been in the vegetable garden for a while. I grew them last summer, uh, picked one off, bit into it, and I think that might be the sweetest pepper I have ever tasted. Um, you can tell it's lipstick pepper. It kind of looks like a lipstick. Uh, and these are good. They are cold tolerant, so if you put these a little bit later in the season, they can continue to grow a little bit deeper into the summer when it starts to cool off just a little bit. These are great roasted, very, very great. I'm a big fan of charcuterie boards. These will be perfect for one of those. And here are some of them lined in from the past year or whatever. Carolina Wonder peppers. These are your sweet bell peppers. Instead of going from your green, yellow, orange, red, these go straight from green to red. These are like California Wonder, but they're bred to thrive in our environment. So they're very good with like disease resistance, stuff like that, pest resistance. Um, Again, classic sweet bell pepper flavor. And last year, we had summer camp. I was working that. We had summer camp with the kids here. So throughout the week, throughout the morning. I was busy with that. And one of the days I came back into the garden and I saw, I think they're like 10-gallon buckets filled with these green, huge green, beautiful peppers. And I'm like, where did these come from? There's no way these could have come from my garden, the vegetable garden. I don't think I'm that good or whatever. And I'm like, who just threw these peppers? But one of our volunteers harvested them and threw them in there for us for it to be donated to Hope of Winston-Salem. And I could not believe there was about 2 buckets, uh, these 10-gallon buckets filled with these huge green bell peppers. And I was just absolutely floored, not only the size, but the amount that these kind of yield. So if you like your sweet bell peppers, these are definitely ones to kind of get, and these will be at the plant sale as well. And there's another picture of them. Carolina cayenne, so we're getting spicy right now. These are 2 times hotter than a regular cayenne pepper. They still have the heat, but they still have the flavor. Um, they're long, thin, and they're perfect for your hot sauces or drying to get for your like red pepper flakes, stuff like that. Again, this was bred in Clemson University, so this kind of is good with disease resistance pests for this area. And it yields a lot. So again, another high recommendation for this one. Carolina Reaper, this is a popular one with the kids just because of how hot it was. It was the world's hottest pepper from 2013 to 2023. I've grown it out here a couple times, and this is going to make me sound awful, but we do have problems with people picking vegetables. And there may be a little part of me that's like, you know what? What about that one? Do you want to pick that one over there? But I don't want to wish that because eating one of those is a straight trip to the hospital. Um Again, I wouldn't eat one raw or just right off the plant or anything like that. But again, it's a beautiful red pepper. It's got those long stingers. That's where it gets its Reaper name from. And again, at my age, again, I said, growing up, give me any hot sauce, give me any pepper, I'll down it. I'm 39 years old right now, and jalapeno will ruin the rest of my day. Uh, and when you get to something that's 2.2 million Scoville heat units, and they're talking about initial tones of sweet fruitiness and undertones of chocolate and cherries, I don't believe them for one bit. I don't know. I think it's just all molten lava. But if you do want to use them, they're mainly used, throw a tiny, tiny bit in your pasta sauces, chili, stew. Again, a little goes a long way. Megatron peppers, last year, these were fun to grow last year. Last year was the first time I grew them. Um, it's just like jalapenos, but they are about double the size. Um, and they grow really, really quickly compared to other jalapenos. So you harvest them earlier, they're bigger. They are not as pungent as your regular jalapeno. It's 5,000. Usually a jalapeno is what, 7, 8,000, something like that. But again, these are huge. I mean, you turn these into a jalapeno popper at a party, you are going to be the hit of that party. Again, great for nachos, canning. But if you really like the jalapeno, you just want a good chunk of jalapeno, Megatron peppers. Um, we'll have some. We won't have mega because these seeds are a little pricey, so we didn't include it in our sale. But we will have something similar to a big jalapeno there. The Reza peppers. Last year was the first year I grew these. Again, these are so fun and cool looking. They're from Macedonia, and the reza mean engraved. So they have this corking pattern, and you've probably seen them on jalapenos. It's called corking, and it is when the inside of the pepper grows too fast for the outside of pepper, and that could be caused by natural reasons, or it could be caused by like you overwater or over fertilize, something like that. But these right here, these are naturally occurring corking, and all it means is it's telling you I'm ripe, I'm ready. If you see it on jalapenos, they're telling you I'm ripe, I'm ready. Pick me. So love that distinct corking on that. Uh, it's an old traditional variety. It was grown in the small villages of Macedonia, um, and and when they were grown in the small villages, a lot weren't grown. So it's kind of it's I don't want to say rare or anything. It just does not get grown a lot. And it's got a sweet, light, smoky flavor. And what they would do is they would, hang it up on the string and dry it out, and they'll grind it into a paprika. But that image of those peppers just hanging and drying out is, again, just another aspect of peppers that I just love. What is a pescatarian's favorite type of pepper? It's a fish pepper. Just pescatarians are like vegetarians and they eat fish. So a fish pepper. Which brings us to fish peppers. Uh, man, these I will say these are a little harder to grow, but look at that picture. Look at those variegated leaves. Look at those stripes on those peppers. It's ornamental, but it's definitely has some culinary aspects to it. And it's got a great story to it. I'm going to try and go through it and not mess it up. So in the 1800s, um, Haiti was in their Revolutionary War, and some fled the island, went to the Baltimore Chesapeake Bay area, and with them they brought these fish peppers. They weren't called fish peppers at the time. They used these peppers for medicinal purposes only, and when they were more available in that region, and it's from Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chesapeake, Virginia area. Enslaved people would use these peppers, they'd rub them on their feet, and it would kind of like throw off the hound dog, stuff like that. Um, Getting closer to the 1900s, um, they were used in cooking a lot. Um, it made it into the culinary scene. There's way before Old Bay seasoning, the hip thing to add to your fish dishes and seafood dishes was this white creamy sauce that included this fish pepper. Um, and it was a hit. It was a rage. Excuse me. Excuse me. So that made the rounds in that area. As we get into the 20th century, um, uh, the African American farmers were like leaving their farms, they're going to more urban jobs. Um, you match that with the overfishing and the pollution of the Chesapeake Bay, and all these fish houses and culinary buildings, they kind of shut down, and the fish pepper for a little while kind of disappeared. But it wasn't until the 1940s where um, an African American World War I soldier named Horace Pippin came back from the war. He was injured. And so he sought out this beekeeper. His name is H. Ralph Weaver. And what Horace wanted was some bee sting therapy in order to help with his aches and pains and what have you. And for that therapy, he traded Ralph some of these rare seeds from his African American garden village. Uh, and one of them was the fish pepper. Um, Ralph put them in some baby food jars, threw it in his um, freezer chest, and it wasn't until 10 years later after he died in 1966, his grandson came, went through his stuff, found these fish pepper seeds, and he started to recultivate them. And it was in 1995 that they were first put back into the public. And so they almost disappeared, but I'm really glad they didn't because they're absolutely beautiful. And if I could find the recipe for one of those that white creamy seafood sauce with those peppers, I'd definitely try it. It was actually the basis of Creole cooking way before New Orleans uh, got there all started and everything. So yeah, very, very cool, very beautiful plant. Bikini peppers. I will say these little teardrop peppers are the most flavorful peppers. It's the best bang for your pepper buck. Um, they kind of pop in your mouth and you go through. It's like Willy Wonka, where they have that candy and you go through dinner and you go through dessert and all that. And yeah, so it kind of starts off fruity and then you get this kind of earthy bell pepper taste, and then you kind of get smoky, and then you kind of feel just a tiny bit of heat at the end. Um, Again, it's full of flavor, and especially for how small it is, um, the texture, that pop, that taste, it's a fun snack. A lot of times you'll see it; it'll be brined and um, thrown into salads, so you have that extra little vinegar pop to it. Um, Again, beautiful color. Um, with that, it start out that pale white, that creamy white, and it'll go into yellow, orange, uh, red, and so it's a beautiful plant if you want to eat or have ornamentally. Bolivian rainbow peppers is I think it's my favorite. It's my favorite, and it's an ornamental plant. Um, it doesn't have much flavor, but it has a spice to it, similar to the Tabasco pepper. These look like little Christmas lights. So what they'll do is when you start seeing these little bulb Christmas light bulb peppers, they'll start off that creamy white, and then they'll turn purple, and then there's golden yellow, then orange, and then this bright red. Uh, and it's like Christmas in July. Uh, love looking at it. It's great for like 2 feet compact bush. It's great to have as like a divider in your garden. Um, Culinary, you can add it to a salsa to give it a little pop of different color. But um, the other year, I had a little hedge of this growing, and just I think that's beautiful. Um, let's see. So Um, plant sale peppers. These are what we're going to have at our plant sale. When we have our plant preview talk in a couple weeks, I will go in on these a little bit more in detail, along with every other plant, vegetable we'll be selling. Again, lunchbox, the Carolina Wonder, the lipstick, they will be there. And I would suggest getting them because they'll be the most popular. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this up here, the chocolate bell beauty, it's a uh, bell pepper with that beautiful purplish chocolate tone to it. So I'll get into those more, but that's what we're working with this year. So what kind of pepper should you avoid dating? This is very important. A ghost pepper. No one likes being ghosted. Very sad moment there. Okay, I'm wrapping it up here. Here's a couple little shout outs to some peppers. And this is the hottest pepper, and you might have seen it pop up in the presentation here. Um, Pepper X. This is from the same breeder. He's down in Fort Mill, South Carolina. His name is Ed Curry. So 2023 is when this Pepper X knocked off his own Carolina Reaper as the hottest. So Carolina Reaper, that 2.2 million Scoville heat units is up to 2.69 now. And if you do ingest it, I think it says intense abdominal cramps and heartburn. I think if that's all you get, you got off lucky. But yeah, you won't see it this year. It's not available. Seeds are not available to the public or anything. But I tell you what, as soon as I see a pre-order, I am jumping for it. Okay, I told you we gone sweet. We're gonna get to the spicy end. We're gonna go salacious. So the Peter pepper. This is the most pornographic pepper due to its appearance. I've blurred. It's been blurred. Unknown origin. It's 3-4 inches long, but it does pack a lot of heat. And mainly ornamental, but you can use it in whatever, however you wish to use it. And finally, the sassiest and cutest pepper alert. Again, we're swinging back to the sweet part of this pepper talk. It's the red hot Sylvie pepper. Again, it's developed in 2024, one of the kind, very heavy feeder. I think she's up to 30 ounces a day. Hates, got to keep it dry, hates her root bottoms being soiled and wet. Watch out for the pepper spray. And they say 25 years to mature. We'll find out. I don't know. And again, perfect for hugs and brightening up your day. And I'll end it on here's some of my favorite pepper sites if you want to go home and look up some seeds and get some seeds. This Pucker Butt Pepper Company, that's the Ed Curry. So if you're all into the hot peppers and all that stuff, that's the website to go to. Sometimes he sells some stuff on his site, depending on what it is. But Carolina Reaper and Pepper X, it's going to be all of that there. And since he developed and bred them, that's kind of your first go-to on that terms of stuff. Pepper Joes, they are great. There's a lot of great. If this was Pepper 101 or whatever, they go into great detail about even more peppers. Every year there's something new and something cool. I love getting their little catalogs every year. They're just they've got something interesting all the time. And they're selling out a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff. So, and same thing with the Ohio peppers. They're their seeds. It's hard to find a trustworthy seed place. Their seeds always seem to germinate really well. They do a really good job. They got a great selection. And if I want a pepper that I don't want to experiment and hope that it will grow well, Southern Exposure Seed, I think they're based out of Virginia. So True Seed is based out of Asheville. They've got a lot of stuff that will grow really well. That's where I found the Carolina Wonder, the Carolina Cayenne, and some others that are like, where I'm like, hey, I need something that I know that will grow well in this area. I go straight to right there. If you got any questions, I can answer them now, or if you have any questions at any time about any vegetable or fruit, you can just email me at joey@renolda.org. And that's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, yeah. Yes. Members only. Yeah, not volunteers. Um, I will say that helping out during pickup may increase your chances, but I can't say that for sure, especially since John is not here watching me. But I do know that yeah, it's members of the garden that definitely have the first pick. Yes. Huh? You know what? That's all John. Um, but if you have something vegetable wise, I can always put something to the side for you. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you very much.